We hope to be joined by my colleagues, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Weston, in just a little bit. But let's take this item up, Mr. Clerk. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is a motion, Alarcon Krikorian, relative to the acceptance of Federal Highway Administration Safe, Accountable, Flexible, and Efficient Transportation Equity Act funds in the amount of $4,679,480 for the Hanson Dam Hillside Stabilization and Parking Lot Rehabilitation Project.
Good. Is anyone here from? Oh, hi.
Good morning. Good morning. The report is basically requesting approval to, retroactive approval to apply and accept the safety loop funds. The grant actually was originally applied for by Department of Transportation because it was mainly a transportation grant.
Right.
Since that time, the scope changed and the transportation elements were pretty much eliminated. So now we're focusing on just the hillside stabilization and a new parking lot.
Has the work been done?
It's in design right now. It hasn't started.
Great.
So the hillside portion of the scope is being done by the Bureau of Engineering, and Rec and Parks will be doing the parking lot improvement.
And they're working on it now.
They're doing the design now.
Right.
We expect to have the parking lot completed in about a year and a half, and the latter part of 2013 for the hillside.
Yeah. Why does it take so long? Just answer that question when it comes to council. Because a year and a half seems like a long time. And if we're trying to get people working and trying to do that thing, and if this is a grant fund, I think the federal government want to see us work. But just find out why it takes that long, and I'm
The
sure.
Corps of Engineers approval process is rather tenuous.
But have they approved it? Well, you could, for the record, come up here. And both of you state your names for the record.
Susan Huntley, Recreation.
I know, Susan's a veteran now. Is this your first time testifying?
Yes, so sorry.
Okay.
Barbara Pleasant, Recreation and Parks.
Right.
We have just written a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers requesting approval to go forward with the project. Now we're waiting for a reply.
I got it. I'm just saying, it's every grant we get, we should try to put people to work. We did not get any grants from 84 this year because we've had so many grants, but we haven't completed the work. So if we show we're working, we may get a little more grants. So thank you both, and we'll see you in council.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item.
Council member, for the record, this item is approved.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 2 is a city administrative officer report relative to the proposed
Well, let's
amendment.
hold this because I don't think everybody's here. Someone called and said they're stuck in transit. I apologize. Item 3.
Okay. We'll move to item 3. Item number 3 is a Board of Recreation and Park Commissioners report relative to approval to submit a Montrose Settlements Restoration Program Fishing Outreach Mini Grant application in the amount of $5,000 for the Cabrillo Beach Pier Fishing Program.
Okay, Susan Huntley again from Recreation and Parks. The request before you is to approve our submission of a grant for $5,000 to, I guess, reinstitute our fishing program. We're actually asking to have permission to apply for the grant, but we've actually since then been awarded the grant, so we'll be coming back for that as well.
Let me just ask you a question, because your valuable time and everything. Should we, Madam CLA, come up with a higher threshold, like $50,000, as far as whether or not to have them come to committee? Because this is $5,000, which we thank, but we're joined by Mr. Reyes. We just started off slowly, Mr. Reyes, on a couple things. What do you think?
I think it's something we can definitely look into because of the small amount, maybe they could just go forward.
Every amount is welcome, and I know it goes through your commission.
Yes.
Mr. Reyes, we're on item number 3, and it speaks to a grant, a good fishing grant of $5,000, but I just brought to my attention because it's, let's say, under $50,000. Should we ask the CLA to, in addition to investigate possibly a policy change, a rule change that's something $50,000 or under could be approved by their commission, as opposed to having to come to council for every 5 or 10,000. But anyway, we're going to approve this. Yes. Okay, good.
One last note, though, the only thing I think we'd have to be clear on is if there were matching funds, and, you know, that gets...
Well, you
we
figure
can,
it
but
out.
we can definitely
You're the CLA.
discuss it.
You can figure it out. Okay. So, Mr. Reyes, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. And would you also join in supporting the $4,679,480,000 of a special federal highway grant for hillside stabilization, which is item number 1? You okay with that? Approve. Okay, great. Now let's go to item number 4.
Still here, Susan Huntley, Recreation and
Oh,
Parks.
One moment, I'm sorry, Ms. Huntley, let me go ahead and read the item. Item number 4 is a Board of Recreation and Park Commissioners report relative to acceptance of an $85,000 grant from the LA 84 Foundation for the Summer Swim Program 2011.
And we're requesting authority to accept and receive the $85,000 we received for, to supplement our summer swim program, and the amount of the grant is $85,000.
And our pools are open today. We opened last weekend, right?
Open on the 25th.
Yeah, right, last weekend, which is good. So this goes support that. Do you know what our swim program costs?
I'm probably not the person to ask.
Right, that's all right. Mr. Reyes, you okay with that?
That's been, LA84 has been very, very complimentary and supportive of our city as a whole for years.
Great.
This summer is an exception given the crisis we're in. So I want to just thank them for their great support.
Great. Well, this is good. Mr. Wesson, good morning. Well, thank you. So this is a LA 84, $85,000 grant for summer program. We're joined by Mr. Wesson. You okay with that, Mr. Wesson?
Yes.
Good. All right, Mr. Reyes, okay? So recommend approval. And as long as in your getting settled in, Mr. Wesson, items 1 and 3, they were, you're okay with 1 and 3? Consider Mr. Wesson reviewed and support that unanimously. So we approve item number 4. Number 5. Well, this is a good one, too.
Item number 5 is a Board of Recreation and Park Commissioners report relative to the application and acceptance of grant funds from the Kaiser Permanente Community Benefit Grants Program in the amount of $265,000 for the Summer Splash Program of 2011.
Similar grant, the $265,000 grant is going to be, again, used to supplement our summer swim program, and we're asking for authority to accept and receive those funds.
Very good. Any questions?
Nope.
Good. Just, got another suggestion for the CLA. You ever watch TV? You know, they roll credits at the end of TV. Hold on just a second now.
Yes.
Maybe we could, when we have these matters in council, you know, even though it's combobulated with a bunch of government words, at the end we could say, at some time, like maybe once a week or something, these grants from these organizations or gifts were accepted by the city. You know how we adjourn? You know, probably after that. But just a thought to look at that, because people should know that Kaiser is a great friend, LA 84 is a great friend. So something to think about, Madam CLA, if you report back to me on that. Super. Next item.
Item number 6 is a Los Angeles Department of Aging report relative to various actions related to the fiscal year 2011-2012 Senior Community Service Employment Program, SCSEP budget and standard agreement with the State of California Department of Aging. This item is scheduled for council on June 21st, 2011.
Good morning, James Don, Department of Aging. The department is requesting authority to accept $1,704,627 of grant funds from the California Department of Aging for our senior job skills training program. The program currently has 235 plus enrollees. It provides valuable job skills for seniors who are trying to re-enter the marketplace. We work closely with the workforce centers under CDD to find host sites to provide them on-the-job training experience as well as classroom training. We're also requesting authority to amend 2 contracts on the current year program. These are extensions of time for 6 months, but not of funds. It'll allow us to roll over unspent program dollars to use for enrollees.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Reyes? Mr. Wesson? We're okay with this, James. You do a great job for the Department of Aging.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Now, let's go to number 7. Approved by all of us.
Item number 7 is a Los Angeles Department of Aging report relative to updating the Senior Community Service Employment Program, SCSEP policy.
James Dunn, Department of Aging. The department is requesting review and approval of our updated grievance policy for enrollees. We were issued a guidance recently from the California Department of Aging requesting that all programs in the state update their grievance policy to match that of the welfare code. We've basically developed a upgraded policy that matches along the guidelines, providing for a informal review process at our host sites, then further reviews of the appeals with the program manager and with the general manager of the Department of Aging. If there's actually an appeal or grievance about the general manager, then the city council as the governing board will be the final adjudicator.
But it may then become through my committee of Arts Parks or whatever chairs. Mr. Reyes, any questions?
Yeah.
You're okay?
Yeah, we're talking about grievances, is that what we're saying?
Right. The senior enrollees are allowed under the program to grieve things that are related to their job skills training, such as the length of time in the program or whether or not they actually receive the type of training that they're looking for at the host site. We, in our proposed policy, at the first step, we urge that they work with our program monitor to resolve the conflict at an informal level. If it's adjustments in the type of training or providing them a new host site so that they can basically achieve the job skills that they need to find a job.
Give me an example, it's like a scenario that how this applies.
Okay, one possibility would be that a community-based agency comes to us requesting a Title V enrollee, and they give us the description of the type of job training that they would receive. Let's say reception type duties. But when the trainee is actually assigned there, they're kind of shuffled into a different function that had nothing to do with the job skills that they're trying to learn how to deal with the public. So at that point, they can basically say, well, you know, this is not what I signed on for. I'm not learning anything that's going to help me find a job. So then they could basically file a grievance, and then our monitor would step in, review what the situation, and work with the agency to say, well, this is what you originally agreed to do, and the agency may have some reasons that we can work out with them.
Right.
So those
How does that happen?
Not very often. We're pretty specific about it. Actually, our bigger concern is that when they actually have an opportunity to hire, that they actually give consideration to the enrollee that we place there. Because if they've already trained the person on how to do the job, and they actually have the funds later on to fill the position, they should give them a chance to interview for the job, and they do. As a matter of fact, we basically keep the agencies that have a good track record of us of hiring our enrollees, we usually are very amenable to sending more enrollees to those sites. Those that don't, we kind of put them on a lower priority.
So these are like seasonal events? Like
No,
that,
actually,
ongoing?
ongoing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Reyes, Mr. Weston, okay? You recommend approval.
Thank you very much.
James. Next item.
Item number 8 is a city attorney report and ordinance in response to motion Han Labange relative to amending the Los Angeles Administrative Code to deposit all Watts Towers administration proceeds into the Cultural Affairs Trust Fund and programming, staffing, maintenance, and restoration of the Watts Towers. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Hi, good morning. Basha Jankowski for the City Attorney's Office. The council requested an ordinance which would place the admission fees from the Watts Towers directly into the Cultural Affairs Trust Fund. They used to go into the general fund and be allocated specifically for programming, staffing, maintenance, and restoration of the towers. And that's what this ordinance does.
Correct. And this is to help the Watts Towers.
Correct.
I support it. Mr. Weston, any?
Ms. Hahn's motion.
You got it all the way. So we're all good with it. How many facilities do we know, and I know Record Parks could answer, that have this arrangement? Very few, right?
I don't know.
Right.
Unfortunately, Cultural Affairs couldn't make it today. They might have a better understanding.
It's all right. It's worth it for the Watts Towers, which
Yes.
needs all the love. So, Pasha, thank you. Nice to see you today. Nice to
Thank
see you on Sundays.
Thank you.
You're very good.
Thank
Say
you
hello to
very
your
much.
son. Okay, now we're returning to the last item number 3. Is everybody here that stated they would be? Ms. Weitzer, my chief of planning, you did receive a call from someone who was stuck on a train? Mr. Rothman is here. Okay, very good. Everybody's here who's supposed to be here. Mr. Clerk, call item number 3, please.
Item number 2 is a city administrative officer report relative to the proposed amendment to the lease agreement between the Department of Recreation and Parks and the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust. This item is a time limit item. Last day for council action is August 9th, 2011.
Very good.
Good morning, Veronica Salumbidas with the Office of the CAO. The proposed amendment mainly amends the hours of operations for the Los Angeles Holocaust Museum. It also updates the addresses for the department and the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust. In 2007, as authorized by council, the department entered into a 50-year lease agreement with the museum for the construction and operation of a Holocaust museum at Pan Pacific Park in Council District 4. The museum is currently requesting to operate the museum on the weekends to provide the public with greater opportunity to visit the museum. The hours of operation will be consistent with the normal park operating hours at Pan Pacific Park. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and department representatives is also here to answer questions.
Sid, you want to give us an overview?
Sure. Sid Makarag, Recreation and Parks. What we have here is, Veronica indicated, is a change in the hours of operation, adding Saturday and Sunday to the hours of operation. Also, during the course of our processing the request for this amendment, there were concerns raised by the community as far as parking availability at Pan Pacific Park, and these were addressed by working with the Holocaust Museum themselves. So they've secured, in addition to the 28 spaces underground the building, they've also acquired 50 parking spaces at the adjacent CBS studios, and they've made sure verbally committed to staffing, appointing staff at the park to make sure that museum patrons use the designated parking spaces.
Right, and we have one public comment card. Mark Rothman.
Hey, I'm Mark Rothman. I'm the Executive Director of the Allen Museum of the Holocaust. And I wanted to just say that we've been working very closely with the community, with the park, Pan Pacific Park, and with the Department of Parks and Recreation to make sure that all the concerns involved in us opening on Saturdays were addressed. And I think we presented a very reasonable plan where we would manage our parking carefully to make sure that there would be enough parking. We also gained assistance from CBS, our neighbor, to help us with overflow parking.
Great. Members, this is a tremendous facility that was designed and nestled in what is a very popular park, which has nestled into the hill of the rolling hills that created what was the then Senator David Roberti was able to get money from the flood control funds to create a flood control district within Pan Pacific, which created the bowl. It was designed.
But it's nestled.
Nestled. And
I've got to go find something that's nestled.
you will find something nestled. You find a nestled.
I like that word.
It's beautiful. It's nestled. And the architecture is that it gives you a direct focus on the history of what was the darkest period of the last century, the Holocaust. And
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
Mark, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, I want to go check it out. I want to make sure that you're there. Show me around.
I look forward to it.
Before you did this, were you in radio? Doesn't he have a radio voice, Mr. Chairman?
Now presenting for the CBS Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, right. Very good. Very good. Very good. But I also welcome any time, and I'm sure some of your schools have gone there. It's a tremendous asset. And Mr. Reyes, I just want to direct one thing to Rec and Parks. I want you to be successful, Mark, real successful. And the business district is very popular in West Beverly Boulevard. The park itself is extremely popular. I had a great time one day when my son was playing football for the Pan Pacific Packers, and Serena Fisk is the director, and there's seniors over here, there's girls playing soccer over here, the boys are playing football. Everybody's having a great experience, and I come over to give her a congratulatory hug, and two fellas walked up to her and said, "Hey, there's too much noise going on in here." They lived on the next street, and I got in the middle of it, and then it got a little, I'm explaining the story here, but I think it's important. When you live next to a park, you got to expect the public, and you got to balance out the needs. And it was one of those beautiful days where everything was working except for the person who lived next to the park. So they moved to the 10th district, but that's okay.
They're nestled in the 10th district, I think.
They were nestled in your district.
What I need from Sid is, I want the museum to be successful on Saturday and Sunday, because there's, what has happened to the park system, they've, like an accordion, been squeezed, where much of the programming now is on Saturday. Even though Pan Pacific has a different status, but it's very, very, very busy. So if you station a person there to direct them into CBS lot, and I know, and it's very important, as you know, Mark, and you're a soulful man, to see the variety of people come. Some are young people, but many are older people who had direct relatives who were victims of the Holocaust. And to try to find their way up Beverly Boulevard and go left from Beverly into what is the entrance to CBS, and to find their way around, I worry a little.
Well, we give them a map. We do give them a map, and there is a person that gives them specific instructions.
I know, but I want you to maybe even get a bicycle there, so if they have to lead them in, okay, I wanted valet parking, but I'm going with you on this, okay? But I want you to be successful, because I worry the maze that they would have to go through, from the nestling of the beautiful architecture that's soulful, that talks about the tragedy of the Holocaust. And then you have people who there's no parking right at the building, and there's
No, that's not, actually, just to be clear, we do have 26 spaces, and our parking study has shown that there's only a few hours during the day when it's most stressed.
Where you are parking people underneath now.
We're parking people underneath, and we're covering a great percentage of our traffic on Sundays, which is our busiest day, with our parking underneath.
Right.
It's actually rather rare. CBS calls us up every week and say, "Well, we only park 3 cars. Do you want to keep doing this?" And we're absolutely. It's a tremendous resource. They provide 50 spaces, and the parking is actually nestled just on the other side of Grove Drive.
But it is a maze to get through.
It's a 100-foot walk.
Right.
back
Okay.
to the
Good.
museum.
Mr. Reyes, any question?
Yeah. So I'm assuming when the building was built, a lot of the parking issues were addressed as it was being processed, correct?
As part of an environmental impact report, yes.
And so all of the terms and conditions that were set then are now being activated or have been activated?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
And there was a belief that you were going to be closed on Saturday.
There was originally, yes.
But now, because it's not everyone who comes there, now there's a variety of days which to pick to come to, which opens it up. And it is truly, Mr. West and Mr. Reyes and all staff and anyone who can hear my voice, and an amazing place to visit, to learn from the tragedy of the Holocaust, so it never happens again. So we're okay with any questions to recommend approval?
Yes.
And so ordered, and this meeting is complete. I have no public comment card. Everybody's okay. We got this meeting done in 29 minutes. Thank you, everybody. I think I know. I got it less than that over there. Good job there. Look that way. Better clock. Hey, Sid, stick around. Thank you. Nice